Hello everyone. Hope you had a great day. So we are back for another session of live coding with Unity multiplayer on Unity 6. I've actually been playing around a bit with the project to try to fix the stuttering issue, let's say. And I now have a character controller, basic character controller that works fine. Very smooth, even if I simulate a bad connection. 242 ping latency, and with that it's still fairly smooth, and it should work with the other player also. Let's wait for the second player to activate to just check. Okay, even with a poor connection. Okay, I have my two players, and if I look at the second one, okay, so the movement is smooth between the two players, even with a bad latency. So I will start by doing a bit of refactoring for the code so that I go through all of it and try to reorganize it, because I think there are some stuff that I missed, and that will also cover it for you. So one of the things I did is to add the synchronization of the acceleration also. That helped, and to not use too much bandwidth, I'm using the quantization that Unity provides, and basically instead of syncing the full precision of the float values, it will synchronize up to the second decimal, because I've put 100. So that should be a sufficient precision for me to simulate. And I've also put some smoothing using interpolate and extrapolate. So this one basically should, from my understanding, not snap directly. So if the value I got from the client on the client is different than the one that I got from the snapshot, it will smooth the value between the two and not just set it directly. So that should give me a more smooth experience. And the last one, composite true, I'm not sure if it's really necessary or not. From what I understand, is basically to say that all the components, so X, Y, and Z, or the float 3, are usually changing all at the same time. So that enables some optimization in the synchronization. And in the movement itself, I also extracted the vertical and horizontal component for the acceleration. And I think I have a mistake somewhere. In a previous stream, I moved the half velocity computation in the step 4 here. And in fact, I think I should move it all the way up, almost all the way up, because basically this one, if we walk it back, we have the half step velocity, which is the horizontal one here. That will be the current velocity plus half the acceleration, current acceleration. So that's basically the same definition as this. current velocity plus half the acceleration. So in fact, if I create another float 3 velocity, and put it equal to the velocity plus 0.5 the acceleration, and I use that here, that should give me the same results. And then what happens basically is that I can use this velocity for all my simulation and consider that that is my exact velocity. So I can, in the handle movement here, if I'm going to revert back, basically, when I decelerate, I can just set that velocity to 0. And it avoids the character from going backwards if the deceleration is too strong. And I think that's the better approach to do it, so that even when I will do the collision response, I will be able to directly update this velocity for the next iteration or the next step to cover all the time step. Hello Vadim, how are you? I need to put the chat in the correct window so I don't miss any message. The streaming setup still needs a bit of work, but okay, that's good. So yeah, hello. So the first thing I do is not update the position now, but compute the velocity at step. Let's call it like that, because I think that one thing that I misunderstood is that basically I was thinking that if I try to represent a tick, so let's say this is my first frame, this is my next frame, so the next tick of the server on the next update. I was thinking that I was actually simulating here. All the code was trying to represent it here, when in fact I should think about saying, okay, I'm placing myself here, which is the case, and I'm actually using the computing in that step the velocity and acceleration and so on that I would have at the next half step, so that on the next tick I can update again my velocity with this one and compute the next one. So I think that, don't know if I make sense, but I think it's basically what I do by moving up the half step velocity computation. So that's my velocity, my new position. Then I need to compute the new accelerations and finally compute the new velocity. So here I should update this to be a velocity. Okay, and I have my half step horizontal velocity, which is now my horizontal velocity. Okay, so that can be directly this, and this one can be directly this. So can remove Hey, yes, I am using prediction. And hello, Coding Jammer. Do you see an issue here that I'm missing? Replace this. It's no longer used. I can remove that. Okay, already did I break anything? I should move back to the LAN settings because it's taking time to start. Okay, so that's still smooth and same thing. So I don't think I broke anything. So this one is the normal, let's say, gravity. That's the horizontal acceleration. That's no longer the velocity half step. That's gonna be my new velocity. What am I doing here? I'm extracting horizontal and vertical. And I am clamping, reorienting and clamping it. So this one becomes this one. Because that's the half step velocity, which is the sum of the horizontal and vertical, and then I extract again the horizontal. So that's the same as this one. And this one I'm not using. So I don't need to do these. Okay, and the new vertical velocity. Okay. That seems to be simplifying the code a bit, if it works. Still reloading domain. Okay, and let's get this bug of the interplay mode that doesn't work. Let's look at the client entity. Okay, it's not bouncing back, but I don't know why the acceleration is set to 0 immediately. And on the server, same thing. Maybe it's too fast for... Let's try, yeah, 005, that's why. Even put almost instant acceleration, so let's do something more reasonable. Now it's flickering or stuttering. What's with that? Client world, the entity. Okay, so that's fine. I'm trying to look if the position here when I decelerate goes back. So it's decreasing, and is it ever increasing again? No. Is it just me, or do I feel like it's not smooth? No, it's not smooth. Maybe because I have a poor bandwidth. Let's try with the LAN one. No, it's not really better. Is it? Doesn't seem better. Why is it stuttering now that I have a bigger acceleration? Let's try something ridiculous. No, that seems fine. It's smooth. Why do I feel like it's an issue? Maybe the quantization is too low. It was 0.25. Don't remember. Yeah, there is something here. It's teleporting. Let me try to, because what is the value for? It's not doing it anymore now. What? It's good. That's strange. Okay. Hopefully it's just some lag on the simulation. Oh, it's doing it again. Let's open the profiler. See if there is any spikes. Analysis profiler. Okay. Yes, I would say there are spikes. Where do they come from? Under loop. Is it because I'm streaming and recording at the same time? So GPU is having a hard time and I'm waiting on it? Let's stop. Close the profiler. Yes, let's open again the profiler. Clear. And start again. And now it's smooth. And there is no spike, or not as much spike. Okay, so there is maybe some interference with my recording and streaming at the same time, so I will have to try again and validate that outside of the stream. Let's continue a bit the refactoring. Make sure that I'm not missing anything. So compute the velocity at step. Okay. Update the position. Technically that should be the position the next half step, but since I'm assigning it to the entity, it's actually the next position, the new position. So this was my velocity last time plus half my acceleration. Okay, so that should work. That works. Trying to draw it. Let's say. So let's say this is the timeline. I'm not straight. Okay, that's straight. So we start here. Vadim has a question about buffers. Begin initialization until command buffer. Naxtlap. I don't know what Naxtlap is, but yeah, go on. Begin initialization, entity command buffer, all the entities command buffer basically that are built in the Unity player loop. So when we start here, we have 0, 0, 0 for the position. And on this first update, we are computing the velocity using the new acceleration. So here let's say I'm applying a 10 unit acceleration. Here the velocity will be half my acceleration, so 5. Or rather, if I want, so Vadim, when reloading the scene, I get a situation where there are invalid entities in the buffer. Okay, so that's because you are unloading and reloading a scene and the entities, and you are doing that while entities are within a buffer. Okay. No, because the entity command buffer is created. So that won't help at all. Let's open the systems window to illustrate. Entity command buffer. So we have all of these entity command buffers. So if you are you want to check, but you are using one of the built-in entity command buffers, and you would like it to check that the entity that's skewed in the buffer has not been destroyed by the unloading of the scene and reloading of the scene, basically. I don't think that the entity command buffers can do that. Do you have a pattern or something like that you usually use to say, okay, I create all my entities in I don't know, the begin simulation buffer, and I only destroy my entities in the fixed update, and so on? Because if you do that, so if you create all your entities in the begin simulation and you do all the delete or update, so basically you need to make sure that you unload and reload your scene you need to make sure you unload and reload your scene after all the buffers that are either adding components, editing components, or deleting entities. Because the creation doesn't matter. Yes, if you unload the scene, it destroys all the entities. So that's why I'm saying that the actual unloading of the scene should happen after all the buffers that you used for stopping. So you can, for instance, say that you will load your scene in the initialization systems group, so that whatever command you put in will be run before the next frame, and on the next frame you will unload everything. Your only issue is if you would add something to the begin initialization entity command buffer. Because if you load your scene in between these two command buffers, or you unload your scene in between these two entity command buffers, the only... No, it's not the only issue. You need to make sure, so you need to do your scene load and unload in between these buffers, and you need to make sure that whatever the command you are scheduling, you schedule it so that it runs before the end of the frame. So it's a question of ordering stuff, and I don't think there is any way you can just check the entity existence from the buffer itself. Your only other option is to, but you can't do a structural change with that. Or you could do it. Your only other option would be to not rely on the existing command buffer and do it yourself with like a native stream or native queue or whatever. I think that Dreaming Latios, if you look at the Latios framework, so this package, I think there is something in here about the command. He's not using the built-in one, but he has something to do it himself. So yeah, in this one, oops. Custom command buffers. So he has his own command buffers, so you have full control over how the command is played back, and you can do all the checks you want and so on. So that's the only options I can think of. Be very careful about the order in which you schedule your system for loading, unloading your scenes, and queuing your commands, or to check if you can have your own custom command playback, let's say, to check the entity existence. Because does it actually crash the player if you queue an command on an entity that no longer exists? I'm not sure. Does it just log an error, or does it just stop the player and crash? I think it probably just logs an error, but I'm not sure there is a way to silence these errors. So here I'm preparing the simulation context. Isn't it too expensive for each system to create its own buffer? Normally, no, because you could rely on native streams, native queues, using the how it's called. There is an allocator, special allocator. Oh, it's not there. Double rewind allocator or something like that. So basically, it's always reusing the same memory. So you are not actually allocating new memory. It's using 2 buffers and it's alternating between the 2 buffers. So you have one buffer you write to while the other one is read from, and on the next frame they are flipped. So you don't have to reallocate new memory every time. But after that, the caution point, let's say, or the thing you need to be careful about is actually having a sync point and stalling your main thread. So you need to make sure that you do as much of the operation as you can in a job actually, to not lock the main thread. Where is it? I don't find it again. I don't remember where it is, but there is one that does that flip and save you basically the allocation of the memory every frame. After reboot, an error with the buffer and then many errors, but the game does not crash, but the system does not work. Yeah, so yeah, it's not something you can ignore, and you need to figure out the correct order in which you load and unload stuff. If I play the buffer, is it a sync point? Yes, most likely. Most likely. Maybe there are some situations where it's, let's say, smart enough to not do a full sync. But it's most likely a sync point. Because if you do the playback, I think it calls the complete on all the jobs. So that stops your main thread until all the jobs are completed. Which is why Danny from the Outpasso, the one working at Unity, said that if you can avoid using entity command buffer, don't use them. So for every modification like that is not a structural change, let's say, don't use the entity command buffer. And if you have structural change, maybe even sometimes it's faster to do it with the entity manager directly and not with the entity command buffer. There are a lot of enemies on the stage and I fight for every milliseconds. Yeah. It's not always easy. So preparing the simulation, we split the vertical and horizontal components, work on them independently. Independently, yes. So I extract everything. The only one I'm not using is the current vertical acceleration, which I don't use yet. Current horizontal velocity here is the horizontal velocity. And here, so this one basically is saying if I want to move and if don't want to move, or rather want to stop, and velocity is not 0. In that case, I try to get the maximum, to apply the deceleration. to the normalized vector. And if that deceleration times the magnitude, so if the deceleration is stronger than the velocity, zero out velocity and acceleration to avoid overshoot and oscillation. Oscillation tools. I know I only have particles for the smoke of the wheel from the car, and it still has to shoot and have various effects and already such problems. Thanks, I'll think about how to get around it. Yeah. Yeah. No problem. If you have any, if you find a way around it, please come and share it back here live, if I'm live, or on Discord, or in the comments of the stream. Share your solution. I'm sure it will probably help others also. If want to move, then I compute the acceleration to move. Okay, I'm thinking if I should clamp the velocity here or if I should do that at the end. Let's leave it at the end. So here, the input direction, why is it here? That's the gravity direction input, so that's just for movement. And that's my projection that I haven't done. So I need to also project, because right now it would only work properly if the gravity is along the y-axis. But if it was like a planetoid, the projection would not be correct. But for this one, I know there is another one that I actually the movement input to the, okay, I don't actually want to normalize it. I want instead to clamp it. So I take the velocity, the input here, and the first time I'm using it, it's here. So now I have this input direction. I can compute the projection of that along the on the plane. So I think we did projection mass here. So I can actually do that. And here I'm projecting the input direction. Will that work? Because if I do that, y will not remain 0. and there is no referential. There is no referential, so I'm not actually, the input here is in world space, and I probably want to have it relative to camera or something like that. Or because I don't want to have the camera data on the server side, I don't think it makes a lot of sense, especially since I will want to use the Cinemachine camera. So this should probably still be in world space, and I will do the computation to actually have the proper vector on the client. So the basic thing that I want to do is to clamp the magnitude, so I need to have the length of that input direction. And if the length is above 1f, I should normalize it or clamp it, bring it back to 1, so that's normalization. And if not, okay, so I can do this. On the input direction, so that will be let's do that. So that's the input direction, and that's the input magnitude. And I have too many things called input. Let's actually call a new variable movement direction. Because that's what it will be. And the movement direction will be equal to the input direction if the magnitude is above 1. And if not, it will be this. So actually I can do that. Movement input. So I extract that. Don't I have another method to do clamping? No. not used, so I need to use it here. Name that movement input. Zero. And that's the only place I'm using it. No, I'm using it here also, multiplied by the movement input. Okay, so that should basically tell me that if, so that's still working only on the gravitational plane Y, but that should now limit the magnitude of the input to 1 and allow me to have a lesser magnitude. So if I'm using a joystick, I can accelerate slower. Okay, so for my gravitational field, if I assume I'm in world space, so actually let's call this one world input, so that's clear for everyone using it. And I actually need to transform that into the plane normal gravity. So if I have my plane that is like that and my input that is, I just project on the plane like I did for the mass in here. That gives me the horizontal component of the input. But that will also affect the length of it. So I actually need to have the length of that. So that I can reapply it to the direction. So maybe I don't need this. I need to have the length of this one. That's gonna be my input magnitude. Then I get the direction of this one. I don't need the direction, I need to project it. So I need to do the same logic than here. That's the vertical, that's the horizontal, that's my value. Why am I doing it twice here? I should just do minus vertical. I don't know why I was doing it twice. So same thing here. So I'm getting the vertical component, that's the gravity direction. So That's gonna be my basically gravity aligned direction. So I can actually do this. I will discard the other one, so maybe I will make a method just for that, for the input itself. So that's my horizontal one. And now the magnitude. If magnitude above 1, I should get back this one normalized. If not, I should get this one normalized times the magnitude. So in fact, I should get this one normalized times the magnitude if the magnitude was clamped between 0 and 1. Don't need that. Don't need that. And this one can replace this one. Here I'm still using the input direction. Is it really the direction? No, that's not the direction. That's actually the input itself. But should it be the direction? So here I'm just checking that it's moving. And if I'm moving, I renormalize it. Should I work with the decomposition all along so that I don't have to recompute the normalization and stuff like that? Refactor this one, extract a method, align world input to gravity. Just get the movement input. But here I do have the magnitude. Let's out the movement direction and out movement magnitude. direction, movement magnitude. This is float 3, and this is just a float. The movement direction will be this. And the movement magnitude is this. Oops, too much. And I don't redefine it. Okay. Okay. Why are you complaining? There is no return. It's a void now. Align. It's no longer used because it was here. I remove that. I've put an out movement direction float movement magnitude. Okay. And for this one I'm using movement input. I'm using this just for the magnitude. No, I'm also using this here. And if I want the acceleration to be proportional to the joystick input, I also need the magnitude, so I actually need both. And I'm not renormalizing anything. So I can just do this times this. Okay. And here I need both in there because I need the magnitude to check it's not equal to 0. And I need the normalized direction. So let's call that back movement direction, and let's put in integer float, sorry, movement magnitude. I'm checking the magnitude. Float 0, that doesn't exist. 0 is not equal to the magnitude, so I'm moving basically. And that's the movement direction that is already normalized. And the last thing I need to check here is that if magnitude equals 0, I don't actually need the length here, so actually if this equal 0 and oops, equal 0, and actually I can probably do inferior to mass dot epsilon to get a bit of leeway in the interpretation, just to make sure. Oh, that's not clear at all. Prefer that. If both are below epsilon, then I should set the move direction equal to float 3.0 and this one to 0 and return. So here I need to project safe, yes, normalize safe. Why not? There should be no reason for it to be 0. Okay, let's leave it at that. Ah, light bulb moment. What was the issue? What seems to be the issue, Vadim? So here I need that direction. Oops. Magnitude and direction. In. Too small window. I need to extend. Oops, the chat. ECB system add job handle for producer dependency. I don't remember the last time I had to do that. I think the only things where I had to do that were for physics, I believe. I don't remember using this job handle for dependence for producer. But yeah, maybe. I know of it, I know I already used it, but I don't remember using it for a long time. You're on the last version of, or the 1.0 version of entities, Vadim? Okay. Let us know if that solves the issue. So for me, I don't have compilation errors, so that's good. Let's try that out. Yes, in 1.2 entities, okay. Yeah, I don't remember having to add the job handle for the producer, but it's possible. Okay, and I still have the issue I can't step, and server is not there, but it's there. And now it's fine. I really need to clip that and show it to someone at Unity because it's strange. And there is an issue with my inputs. I screwed something up. I can only move forward or right. I can't go back. The only way to go back is to actually reorient the velocity. That's strange. Where is my input? So if my input is negative, -1. Maybe I did a check. Yes, of course. That cannot work. That cannot work because if my word input is negative, of course, I'm not going to be okay. Wheel physics is quite expensive. For 200 cars, this means 800 raycast. And then a lot of calculation. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But 800 raycasts should be... I hope it should not be too much. Because that's the same thing for the character controller. I will have not even raycast, but capsule casts. $50 cars in the scene without burst, it's already causing problem, yeah. And you're sure that it's the recasts? Did you look at the profiler? Did you look at the profiler to check where the issue is actually? So this is not working, so I'll probably check that instead because here I'm fine, I'm just doing the length, so even the input being 0, it doesn't matter. But here, if the magnitude is below epsilon, actually, do I care? Because I don't care, in fact, because I've projection safe and normalized safe that will bring me to 0 either way. So that code should be fine. Suspension system is expensive. Yeah, okay. I haven't worked on the suspension system on a car controller yet. I won't need that for this game, but it could be a fun challenge for the next one. If I ever finish this one, because I'm already sure it's overscoped. World. Okay, so let's try again without this small stupid mistake. Check if I can still move as I want. Okay, I can move. And actually, if I wanted to try to change the gravity direction, extract direction and magnitude. Should I have used that? No, because I want to do the reorientation. But I could now reuse the other one. So I could use this. Is it smart? I'm just doing the same thing, so I'm doing the normalization manually. Actually, it's a little bit better because I'm doing the normalization manually to extract both value, and I am not computing it twice. So I could do that on this one, get out the direction, get out the magnitude, and then clamp that magnitude between 0 and 1 and assign that back. That way I'm doing the reorientation. Project on plane of normal gravity direction, and then I'm extracting direction and magnitude. That's clear. And then avoid clamp magnitude. It's clear also. I won't over document the stuff. This one may be a bit more complicated, but and this one is already a vector 3. No, float 2. Okay, so that's good. Okay. So I was saying that if I wanted to try out to have not mass up but something else for the gravity, let's say right, and in that case I need to change this. Right would be X. That makes sense. Let's see what happens. I'm trying to make it walk on the side, basically. We'll see if it falls in the correct direction, at least. No, that's not working. But I'm still having with the bug, so let's... So backward and forward are still working. Left and right are not. So backward and forward is still okay, and left, right is not moving at all. I was expecting it to go up and down since I've switched the gravity, but apparently that is not done correctly. So let's try to add some debug drawing. draw a line. Arrow actually. Let's draw an arrow that starts. I don't have my position. I don't have the position here, so I will do it from outside this call. Let's draw so an arrow. Start again. Draw shape arrow. There is so much methods. Where is the direction and start point? Ah, I need to do a new arrow, sorry. New arrow. Now I can put the origin. So the origin will be my character position actually. Every process for movement in a system, and it's very convenient. Recast, suspension, acceleration, steering, side friction, wheel friction, mesh, wheel mesh motion, wheel mesh rotation. Yeah, that's similar to what I'm trying to do, everything in one system, but that's hard to organize. So I wanted my position. Verlet position. Let's start at the position. We'll go in a direction, which will be the gravity direction. So let's start with that. Then we can add an arrow scale, arrow head scale 1F. That's fine. What else can we do? Duration. Put 1 float. Okay. Actually, that's 1 over for the duration of the time step. Basically. And color. Color comes first. So let's put back color in blue. Let's already check that I have the gravity properly on. I know why it's not working. I didn't do the position in... so the gravity is correct, okay. Staying for a bit over than a frame, but... What? No. Okay, that's better. Okay. What's happening to my chat? I'm not seeing all the chats. Okay, he's back. Not only code organization, but also for control. Do not calculate physics for cars that are not in the camera views, for example. Yeah. I don't know, it depends. It depends because let's say you are making a racing game or something like that with your car and you overtake another car. It leaves your camera frame, but you still want to simulate it. It's still part of the race. So how do you handle that? Because if you stop simulating the physics of the car, or you're also in a network game and that's not for the server, it's just for the player, not to predict. But for the player, it should predict only itself and the other ones should be interpolated. So no simulation, no physics simulation required, like I'm doing here. I'm just simulating. I'm not doing it. I should be only simulating for predicted entities. Ghost predicted. No, it's not ghost predicted, it's just predicted entity. Predicted ghost. Okay. It's like Vampire Survivor only for cars. Okay. And you want a Vampire Survivors with cars? Okay, so you want to switch between two different kinds of simulation for the enemy car and have a more accurate physical realistic with the suspension system when the enemy car is near you, basically. And yeah, this one is not working because why is not working? It's normal that my input is in world space. There is an issue with my projection. That sounds epic, yeah. Because you will have, you not only have the recast for the suspension, but you will also need to manage the collision between the car bodies themselves. So that's another collider. Input, align input. Let's draw the world space input. In red. You don't like that. Because that's exactly what I'm doing here. It should probably be float 3. Let's draw also in green. And let's draw the movement direction. Okay. So my input is clearly not redirected correctly. Because I wanted it to go up and down. So projection is not working. How can I do that? Because I'm just doing left and right, and basically projecting gives me 0. So that's the issue. What I actually want to do is to rotate the vector. But if this is not working here, is it working for that? If the velocity is perfectly aligned with the gravity, yes, that will work. So actually my issue is that I'm not summing the two. Yeah, but if I do one plus the other, I'm back here. That's not working. That's not working at all. I can't get my input. I need to capture the input and put it in the same thing. If I just get X and Y, you have the agent's navigation assets. How is it? Is it easy to use? I mean, setup and everything, or is there a bit of a learning curve? I'm trying to understand. So I understand why this is not working. I'm trying to understand how I can do it properly. Because here I'm assuming y equals 0. So is it simply the gravity direction? If I have my gravity direction and then I have X and Y. Back to my paints that I did not finish, but never mind. Random direction. That's X, Y, and Z. That's a random direction. And I'm basically giving it something along this axis and this axis. That's a right angle and that's a curve here and a curve here. And I want to project the X component on this plane. Do I need to do a component-wise projection? So that's what I'm doing. Okay, that's great. If you can also adapt the code of the author to your specific needs and it's easy to understand and set up, that's great. I hope you purchased it with my affiliate link. Or at least got it in promotion or something like that, because there was a lot of promotion. There are always a lot of promotion on the asset store, so keep an eye open. Which makes me think, yeah, no, we are not, we are, so there is the publisher of the week. I don't know if you know about it. Publisher of the week. So today it's a free texture tool and it will change tomorrow. So tomorrow you get another free asset. So you can check the link in the description and in the description of Twitch also. To get an affiliate link, support me if you want to get a asset from the asset store, including the free weekly asset. So what would ChatGPT tell me? I have a world aligned 2D vector. I need to project it on a 3D plane of normal J. You need to align the vector. Okay, so the vector is in 2D space, represented as Vx and Vy. 3D plane, normal vector J. Okay. Convert the 2D vector into a 3D vector. Typically, so that's what I'm doing here, but they are doing the Y here and the V0 here. Project the vector on the plane formula to project the vector 3D onto. So that's the projection. So basically that's here, this. because it's the initial 3D vector minus the projection of the 3D vector on the ground normal. Normalize the vector and calculate the projection. Okay, so it is the only error to do this. That would be great. Ah, Turbo Max game. Competition. I think he got, he has some promo codes also sometimes. Maybe soon, since I'm part of the insider program now. But you need to help me grow, like, subscribe, watch videos of my channel, of course. Okay, so now up and down is moving up and down, and left and right is not moving, it's not aligned. So that's not just that. That would be working if I didn't have a perfect alignment here between these inputs. Right. So I don't know exactly how to do that. So let's go back. Let's go back to the normal one. This one is gonna be Y, and this one Y. And move back here. Okay, and let's add a to-do fix projection on gravity plane, because that's not working. I should start. Okay, go back. Okay, so now we do have the blue, which is the gravity. We do have the green, which is my direction, and the red, which is my velocity, which are all aligned because I have very low friction or sharpness. Let's lower it even more. That doesn't seem to be drifting a little bit. Doesn't look good on my debug. Yeah, it's not the velocity and the movement direction, it's basically twice the movement direction, so that's why it's not logical. If I wanted to do it, I would do that. Okay, now that should give me the gravity, the position, the velocity and the direction. Okay. Time step is a bit long, apparently. It's trying too long. But, let's do it. Leave it like that. I really wanted to have the gravity work because it's worrying me for this one also. Because is this an issue if I'm perfectly aligned with the gravity like I had for the input? Let's say the projection is 0. Then I still get my input vector, so that's good. So if I'm only having horizontal velocities, that still works. And if I'm only having vertical velocity, that should still work also. At a somewhat eastern situation, you can try not to make an immediate change in speed of each case, but to have a component for accumulating movement data. And that's basically what's happening here, I think, if I understand correctly what you mean. Because I'm accumulating over the frame the acceleration until I reach the velocity I want. Yeah, that's what I do also here, I think. If I understand you correctly. But I'm still puzzled with this input stuff. I need to think about a different way to do it rather than projection. Choose a vector not parallel to G to start the basis of the calculation. So I need to align this to both the camera and the gravity. This feels a bit complicated. I know the gravity direction. I need to, if I assume that y is this, can I get the rotation? Rotate. Quaternion float 3. Can I get the quaternion? Look, rotation. Forward and up. So if I get this rotation, I'm saying the forward is the gravity direction and the up that's the up. Okay, I get a quaternion. And now if I mass dot rotate, if I rotate quaternion float 3, return the result of rotating a vector by a unit quaternion. Is it a unit quaternion? Return the quaternion view rotation given a unit length forward vector and a unit up vector. Both are assumed to be unit length and not collinear. If this is not true, use lock rotation step safe from float 3.3. Let's use this one instead. This one is saying that return the float 3x3 view rotation matrix given forward vector and up vector. If the magnitude of either of the vector is so extreme that the calculation cannot be carried out or reliably, or vector or collinear, the identity will be returned instead. That's good. That seems a lot heavier computation to do. Let's see if it works, and if it works, maybe we can offload that to the client because it doesn't really matter. Does it? Don't know. So I have the look rotation safe, and I should now be able to rotate by that the movement input vector and assign it back. You are not happy because that you can. Quaternion dot look, there is a look rotation safe. Returns a quaternion view rotation given a forward vector and an up vector. Okay, so why not? Why do this one? Let's do this one. So I can have the quaternion that I'm looking for and rotate it here. Okay. So this is rotated. And now I'm back to the normalization. So I'm back to the math dot length, this one. That will be my magnitude. And I want to normalize my move input. I can't divide by 0, so if magnitude is not 0, I'm saying the move input is equal to this one divided by the magnitude, normalizing it. Otherwise, it will remain this one, which should be 0. And if the magnitude is too big, I clamp it. So that's good. Not used in any execution path. That's correct, because that's the direction that I would want. Okay, let's try already just like that to see if it's already broken or not. So that's still working. Good. And now if I go back to my X and where is my gravity here? Right. And that's it. Yes. No. Still not correct. So my input vertical. Let's put the game view here. Focus on the plane. It's okay. This one is not working and this one is not working. I'm not rotating correctly. What? X and Z. My Y is up. I need to do some research on that because it's not working as I want to, not as I expect to. So this is not working. Let's go back to Y and up. Okay, put back the game here. And just out of curiosity, I will check the profiler for my overlay step. I'm not using okay, actually, you know what? Let's add graphy. Graphy. Just to check. Okay. Still above 60 FPS. We just have one character, so that's not very impressive. Analysis profiler. Hierarchy. Don't even remember how I named my system, player movement system. Client, server. On the client, I suspect it runs more because of the prediction, but I have no physics, nothing, so that means that there is a very there is low budget, but in fact I'm running two worlds. I'm running the client and the server world on the same computer, so yeah, we have both. So this one is the server one. And if I look at the hierarchy, select the other one. Yeah. So it's player movement here and player movement that was somewhere here. Okay. It's getting late here, past midnight, so I think I will leave it at that and try to think about my input orientation issue during the night and tomorrow. And I will see you Friday. It's a bank holiday for us in France, so I will not be at work, but I will try to do some research during the day for having a solution in the evening. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. Again, if you want to support me, there is links to the asset store in the description, affiliate. You have a link to my Ko-fi page also if you want to donate. Thanks to Scott, which is my biggest donator. Thanks to him, we will almost reach the second step of the objective or the goal on Ko-fi. And otherwise, if you want, you can just watch or rewatch the videos to help me reach the monetization objectives, goals for the channel. Thank you again for staying with me. Thank you for your discussion, chat. See you next